Hello, everybody, and welcome to Norm, the Cheers podcast. That is not. It is great to be here. I am Mike, that's Dave, and in the grand tradition of Golden Age television, we are joined by the Flying Nun. That is a dated reference, like 5 people will get. Luckily, that's half our audience. It is great to be here. That's Tookie under the hat. How you doing, everybody?
Oh boy, just
are we all basking in the glow of a Celtic sweep?
Man, as the world continues its inexorable plunge into the fire, the Celtics remain the single strand of hope I cling to.
It made me happier than it should. It's really like it really has been my lifeline in the sea of 2022. It's been quite lovely to watch.
Uh-oh, we're losing Mike's audio.
We can't hear you.
No.
Now
I've got a lot of amazing things to say. To watch Jason Tatum ascending this way is one thing, but to do it by essentially stepping on the flat head of Kyrie Irving really makes it so much better. It's so much better.
I see what you did there in terms of flat, and I like it.
Yep. That like, you know, it's one thing to think the earth is flat. Just keep it to yourself. Just keep it to yourself. We all think some things. You don't need to tell everybody. You know what I'm saying?
This was a unique sports experience for me in that, like, of course, I was grateful for this series to be over quickly because I want my team to advance. But also, I was just like grateful to kind of be. I'm so grateful to be able to put away the Kyrie stuff completely and to just not have that be a part of my sports watching discourse for the next 6 weeks. Like, I'm just glad that has been compartmentalized and set aside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were having a debate about that, about whether Kyrie is like the great now Boston sports villain. And I feel like he is not. He's a bad sports villain because like A-Rod, Jeter, they were great sports villains. And part of it, especially with Jeter, was that I think to be a really great sports villain, you need to enjoy being the villain and you need to kind of embrace it. Like Jeter, you could just tell, really loved it. And it never got, I shouldn't say it never got nasty. I was not in his shoes and I shouldn't say that. But at the same time, it's like you kind of felt like they were in on it and they like, it came and gave on both sides of the fandom in equal ways. And it was kind of fun. And even when it was nasty, like with a Bill Laimbeer in the 80s, Laimbeer enjoyed it. You know, you could just see him kind of basking in it. Kyrie does not enjoy it. He kind of says things, I mean, oh, it's part of the game. But it's like to see him just flipping off fan bases and like telling fans to suck his member. It's just because, you know, we're on network and I want to prepare for not using bad language.
It's a Peter Gabriel reference, a sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer. There you go. Like and I feel like he brings it to a tense place, and it's a whole level I'm not comfortable with. It goes to a really stressful place for me. So I'm very glad this is over. I wanted a sweep. It made me happy, and I'm hoping this kind of puts it to bed. Like sweeping him out while he plays this badly, except for game 1. Really, I hope next year when he comes back to the Garden, everyone's like, all right, it's kind of silly to make a big deal out of you anymore. Like you weren't competitive. This is not a big deal any longer.
I thought we were headed that way in game 1 with like the flipping off and like the unbelievable shot making. I was like, oh, this is a guy who's going to embrace this role. And I was like, all right, that feels like a good chapter. And I was kind of excited. And then it just like the bottom fell out of his like play and seeming like his interest in competing and everything just felt that game 1 for a while. It's like, this is going to be fun. And that like, he's owning that sort of like that discomfort and making it into something much more entertaining. And then it ceased to be that after game 1.
Yeah. And I think part of it to be a great villain, I think, requires someone to be very comfortable with who they are. And that's a one thing. And where, like, sometimes I just want to be like, fuck you, Kyrie. And I can't quite get there because I feel like whenever he talks, I'm like, this is a guy who's not happy.
Mm.
Like, he's not satisfied with his place in the world in some ways. And he keeps looking for things. I know I've talked about this. He keeps seemingly looking for places and things that are going to make him feel complete and whole. And it never works. And I feel like this is a guy who's just not comfortable with his place in the world. And so it never, like, I get so frustrated with him and I root against him. And then somehow later on, I'll listen to him talk and I'll be like, oh my God, this is so annoying. And then I'll also stop and say, like, that guy's hurting. I don't know. I feel like this guy is in a bad place. And I wish he could not be there. And I wish I could just enjoy the basketball because his offensive skills are as unique and as enjoyable as anyone in the NBA, which is why he keeps making money. The handle, the finishing, when he's on, it's so good. He was so talented game one. But game one was the encapsulation of everything involving the Kyrie Irving experience. The mind-bogglingly great offensive plays, the backbreaking horrible defensive decisions, the lack of effort, the bad decision making, even on offense where he's so talented, where he's dribbling to the point where he's on his knees like Curly Neal in 70s Harlem Globetrotter games, having to roll the ball out to Kevin Durant to try to make a prayer three-pointer. And then it's like everything, the flipping off, the anger. It's like, it's frustrating. It's not an enjoyable experience. I'm so happy we're on. I'm so happy we're moving on.
About to most likely have a series full of Giannis Antetokounmpo, perhaps the most purely joyful NBA superstar of the last 30 years.
Yeah, Giannis, like swapping out Kyrie with the man who is impossible to dislike is a very, very big change. Very big change. And Milwaukee scares me a little bit, but I love the way the Celtics are playing. And right now, I honestly think if they can get past the Bucks, they would be the favorites in any series after this.
You suppose?
I don't love Miami. They handled Miami very well this season. I think Miami's got a lot of issues. I think Philadelphia cannot get out of their own way. To be up 3-0, something about Doc Rivers, like I think that someone said today he was 2-7 in deciding games in his last 9, which seems almost impossible. But his teams keep going up like 3-1 and losing. There's something about his teams, and maybe it's just who he's chosen to coach. But man, like suddenly they were up 3-0. They're going back up to Canada. And I'm really worried about, I would much rather face Philadelphia than Toronto. I will tell you that right now. Much rather face Philadelphia. Philadelphia does not particularly scare me. I don't think they fit together well. I think James Harden is a shell of himself.
Yeah,
I'm not that scared. I'm not that scared. I like Ime versus Doc. Yeah, Harden is. Oof.
You know, and some people say like there are people who cut their hair and lose their superpower. Carmelo lost his superpowers after he cut his braids. Iverson lost his superpowers after cut. Latrell Sprewell lost his superpowers after cutting his braids. And I feel like ever since there was a beard trim, Harden just hasn't been right.
Did he trim the beard?
A little bit at one point.
Oh, that's tempting the follicle gods.
That's also
You've angered them.
As a beard owner, I am well aware that having a beard makes me appear somehow through some sort of visual alchemy more slender. And as an athlete, like James Harden, who is, I think, fair to say, getting a little bulkier as he ages, I think doing any beard work at this point is really dangerous. Like he needs to appear as sleek as he, like even if it's not actually happening, he needs to appear quick. the smaller the beard gets, the more apparent it is that he no longer has the burst of 28-year-old James Harden.
Keep every strand, James. Every strand. Even if it's just because it gives you an extra quarter of an inch between you and the defender on a step back three. You got to keep it all. Condition it. Keep it fluffy. That's what you need to do. All right. Let's talk some cheers, everybody. Season 4,
right.
Episode 6, I'll Gladly Pay You Tuesday, which premiered in November of 85. Dave, what was going on in the world?
Well, this premiered on November 7th, 85. That's a Thursday, obviously. Must-see TV night. That Sunday, the 11th, featured an NFL football game between the Denver Broncos and the San Francisco 49ers. It's a game that the 49ers won 17-16. Rather, the Broncos won 17-16. Not particularly notable, except for one of the reasons that they won by that slim margin was there was a field goal attempted at the end of the first half by the 49ers. This game is referred to as the snowball game because on this 19-yard field goal attempt, San Francisco holder Matt Kavanaugh had a snowball land directly in front of him as the ball was snapped. He was distracted, dropped the snap, picked it up, tried to throw a pass. There were no receivers because nobody had thought that this was going to happen. And obviously they didn't convert the field goal, went on to lose the game. This is I think one of the first recorded instances of fans directly influencing the outcome of the game. There was no review or recourse for the 49ers to do anything. There was no rules related to snowballs at that point. And it made me think, like, and watching the Kyrie stuff this week and watching the strained relationship between the Boston fans and this athlete, it made me long for a simpler time when you could just throw a football, throw a snowball on a football field and be a part of the game that way. And everybody was like, well, I guess that's fine for today, but next time, no. Anyway, this is the anniversary of the snowball game between the 49ers and the Denver Broncos.
49ers won too much in the 80s to have a game named like that. Remember the infamous snowball game? Remember, that's why that was the curse that kept us from winning for 13 months.
Yeah. If anything, it was a curse.
The snowball game.
The bad vibes must have cursed the Broncos because they didn't go on to win a Super Bowl for the next 8 years.
Was that what was Troy?
No, it was
Aikman
11
on the
years,
Broncos?
was it not? Because the Broncos didn't win until 97, I don't think.
Oh yeah, you're right. So yes, another 12 years.
Yeah.
Ooh, was that the Aikman or Elway team? Which team am I confusing Aikman with?
Aikman is the Cowboys.
Cowboys. There we go.
Elway was the quarterback of the Broncos, and Montana was the quarterback of the 49ers.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Tookie, would you like to tell us about this week's cold open?
I shall. And I'll also, I guess, explain to our viewer listeners the hat. Both of you are what's the word? Not bespectacled for glasses, but hatted. So I grabbed the closest hat to me to join in on the hat fun.
We are becapped.
Yes. Also, does the Kavanaugh football player spell it correctly?
Oh, no, they do not.
Oof.
No, they are a C.
Ooh. Ooh.
That was your first sign.
Ugh.
Might as well be Matt Savanaugh.
Ugh. You do not spell Kavanaugh with a C or a U. Just saying.
Yeah, I didn't even want to bring it up because I didn't want to. This has both the C and the U, and I knew it was going to cause a rift.
Awful.
Bad vibes. That'll go down like a bowl of grape nuts.
Ooh, whoa. Too soon.
Sorry.
Too soon.
My apologies.
Too soon. I'm still seeing a specialist about that.
Still bouncing back.
Yeah. All right. So the cold open. We open up on the bar with Norm pushing in on the men's room door. And someone from inside, presumably Cliff, yells, "Okay, who's next?" And Norm says, "Who's ready for Norm?" Come on. And Woody says, "Come on in, Mr. Peterson. We've almost got the bathroom stuffing record. World record, here we come." And Norm manages to sardine himself into that bathroom full of a bunch of dudes. And everybody's cheering, yay, we did it, yay, 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 yay. Congratulations, drinks are on me. And they try to get out. And Norm says, oh, it won't budge. There's too many people in here. And a couple happens to walk in on the very empty bar. And the man says, oh, the bartender must have stepped out. Go ahead and have a seat. I got to use the bathroom anyway. I don't like his tone when speaking to his lady companion.
No, I didn't like that either.
Yeah, right? Right?
Let me save you some thought.
Ugh.
Don't worry that pretty head thinking.
Yuck. But he saunters off in the direction towards the men's room. He pushes on the door, notices it won't open. He says, oh, knock, knock. And everybody in there yells, occupied. Roll credits.
I have thoughts. Because this moves on into the B story of the week, which is Cliff trying to set a Guinness World Record. And here's the thing. I've got multiple issues with this, and I'm going to be an annoying, picky comic book from the guy from The Simpsons. One, what is the record that you're trying to set? What size bathroom is the limit? How many people are we actually trying to get in there? Because every bathroom is a different size. So if there is a world record for fitting people into a bathroom, because there's some bathrooms are gigantic. The number of people that would fit into that bathroom, you could fit like 4 times the size of that into a bathroom at Foxwoods. So what bathroom are we talking about? I don't understand this record. I don't understand why Norm would be the last one going in for this record, other than the fact that he's a main cast member. I find it very frustrating. Also, there would have to be a monitor watching Cliff's attempt to set the backwards walking record. Like, you don't just take people's word for it. So there's no point in him doing that on his own. It all frustrated me. I didn't like it. You need evidence of all of this stuff. No, I don't like this B story. I completely acknowledge I'm being unreasonable about this. But both times I watched it, it bothered me. So I'm sorry. I know the writers are just looking for B stories some weeks and you're trying to do your thing. But no, this is not okay. Anyway, yes.
Mike, why are you using the bathroom at Foxwoods? All disrespect.
What? You go to a show, what do we do? Do I have to hold it the whole time that I'm at Foxwoods?
Yes.
No. You got to go. You got to go. We saw Mulaney. And I needed to use the bathroom because I'm in my mid-40s. I don't get to a ride to Connecticut, a dinner and a full show and a ride home, and then say, hey, when I get back, you know what I think I might do? Use the bathroom for the first time. God bless your Superman just chilling out in Cambridge, going 12 hours at a pop without peeing. But that's not where I'm at in my life anymore.
I wonder if we've been softened because we are drivers. You know, Tookie, as somebody who's you use public transportation more than Mike or I do. I wonder if like you are your system is inured to you know, it's or you know, if you've like bolstered your system to be able to handle the needs of, you know, the restrictions of public transportation, whereas like I can just pull off the highway at any time.
Well, using the lavatories at Davis Square once was enough, but also just public transit in general, not the most sanitary, but definitely great for exercising your pelvic floor. Everybody take the T once in a while.
That is
good
wonderful.
For the environment,
I support
good
that.
For your bladder.
I'm going to tell you right now, when Trevor turns 47, I am willing to put a nice, like not insane, but a nice 3-figure bet on how long that man can do without a bathroom break. If he can do that entire Connecticut trip without somehow needing to do the bathroom, I will hand that cash over and I will call him my daddy. Whatever needs to happen, it's absolutely fine because I feel very comfortable. It's not happening.
Okay. Well, we're gonna April 26, 2032. I'll give you a call.
All right.
I'm so excited for
I'll
this.
update.
All right. The bet stands. If Facebook still exists, we'll have a record of it.
All right.
If Elon hasn't bought it and shut it
Oh,
down,
God.
by that time, we will have a permanent record of this.
Well, it's on YouTube and Twitch too. So
Yeah.
if it's on the internet, it's forever.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So that was the B story. A story. Diane discovers a volume. It's funny. This week, it was a very interesting episode for me because I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I liked the characters in it. I really felt like Woody was becoming Woody in a whole other level. Like a whole bunch of my top jokes of the week picks this week were Woody's jokes. I
Yeah.
really liked it. I thought Carla had good lines in it. I liked the vibes. And I got bogged down, which you should never do in a sitcom. I got bogged down by questions about the plot lines. Or I'm like, that wouldn't happen, which is not how you should watch a sitcom, especially any like pre-2000 sitcom. But here's what happened. Diane has discovered in a local bookstore a first edition of Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises that is autographed by Hemingway. And it's priced at a laughable $500. Apparently, a autographed, good condition copy just sold for $100,000. So it probably would have been a good purchase. My whole point is you got to verify that signature. Anybody can sign their name. How do you know that's Hemingway's actual signature? I don't know. Yeah, like if it's just some guy who signed Ernest Hemingway and stuff, what are you doing? Which is something a whole bunch of people would probably do just to try to add value to a book. You need to get that verified. And the book collector's not going to pay $1,000 for a book without checking out the signature and making sure it's legit. So that was something that frustrated me as the whole thing went on. Be that as it may. Interesting plot device. So she does not have $500 to buy this book. She is wondering if perhaps she should buy it from or borrow it from Sam. She goes in to borrow it from Sam. I like their repartee. It's fun. They have a fun little back and forth. There's more good jokes in there. He says, I'm happy to loan it to you because I'm assuming I will not get it back. I have loaned friends money and I have gotten burned in the past. And so now if I loan somebody money, I just assume I will never see it again. She says, that's silly. Of course, I'm going to give it back to you. 2 weeks pass. She has not given him any money. She has purchased the book. And she's also apparently gone on this ridiculous spending spree that Carla is pointing out. She's bought a cashmere sweater. She's bought shoes. She's getting lobster salad. She's getting massage and facials. She's spending all this money on Girl Scout cookies. And apparently we tipped Girl Scouts in 1985. I had no idea. Yeah, and there's a fun scene where he gets so frustrated he starts smashing the Girl Scout cookies. It's a funny little scene. I got to say, too, this is one of those times I know Carla's trying to stir the pot, but I think she's got a solid point. You don't spend this kind of money when you just borrowed $500 from somebody. That's just bad etiquette. And I get that she comes from money and maybe she doesn't understand borrowing etiquette, but I don't think you do that. She gives Sam the book to hold as collateral. He puts it in the safe, which is one of the earliest times I remember really wanting a wall safe. This and the old Batman series. And I still desire a wall safe. I would really like to have one, but first I need something valuable enough to put in it. Puts it in the wall safe, and before he puts it in, he starts reading, and he becomes very interested in The Sun Also Rises. He is reading it in the bathtub. He drops it, water in the pages expand. And yeah, he comes in, he's trying to figure out what to tell Diane, which I don't know. It doesn't seem like it should be that big a problem, I guess, because at that point, don't you just tell Diane, well, you don't owe me the money anymore because I spoiled your book and this is where it ends. Like that seems to be the simple solution, but I get, again, that's not how sitcoms work, and I'm just going to be panicky. So, okay. She's bought a beautiful little stand to present her book with, which, again, she's spending more money. It's weird that that doesn't get pointed out at that point. She's bought an antique book stand to display the volume. And he's trying to hide the book and figure out what to do about it. A book collector says, oh, my goodness, a first edition Sun Also Rises. I'll pay $1,000 for it. How has he not even checked the condition? You got to check the condition. The condition in books is everything. Has he never seen Pawn Stars? So he's still saying, sight unseen, I'm going to buy this book for $1,000. Diane is giddy at the thought of getting $1,000 for this book, which here's my other nitpick. If she's going to be this delirious about making the money, really, is it just another $500 that's going to make her that excited? Like, the whole thing about really wanting this volume so much is, oh, they've ridiculously underpriced it. Really, it's just another $1,000? Like, I feel like he should have said something to the effect of, I'll give you $5,000 for it. Like, for her to react that way and to set everything off in the way that it goes, I feel like the number should have been bigger. So that's my little nitpick. I don't know what the actual value of that book would have been at that time, but I think the number should have been a little bit higher. So Sam is trying to hide it, does not want to tell Diane. So they come back into the back room. They start a little bidding war, saying, "No, I'll give you 1,010, 1,100, 1,210." And yeah, so I believe it finally ends up at $1,200, if I'm not mistaken, the final price. And he's saying, "I just fell in love with it." Diane is so taken with the fact that he has fallen in love with it. She tells the man, "I'm sorry. I want Sam to have the book." The man leaves. Diane is incredibly turned on by the fact that Sam has been touched by this book. They are starting to hook up while she mentions that she has now made $700. Sam is surprised to learn that she's expecting this money. And then, in the most 80s way ever, as they are hooking up, he is so frustrated by the fact that he has to give her extra money that physical violence now ensues. And he's squeezing her so tight that she cannot breathe. Go to credits. It's a weird week of television, folks. A lot I like, a lot of weird stuff.
The fact that this episode starts with some Boston Wall Street executive running into the bathroom because he's clearly got the cocaine shits. Like, it's this
I didn't even think that.
That was the story I was telling myself as young Gordon Gekko came sprinting into the bathroom.
I didn't even know cocaine had that effect on you. I turn to you for all my cocaine knowledge.
I legitimately just Googled cocaine diarrhea, and that is a thing.
Wow. Well, you know what? I wonder what was in my grape nut cereal then. Because I have a vendetta with grape nuts.
Tookie was having that Wall Street grape nuts.
My God. The wolf of grape nuts. Ugh. Oh, God.
No. You're getting the Michael Douglas grape nuts.
Dave, I would have assumed that you knew this kind of stuff just from reading a lot of rock biographies. I may be stereotyping you right now, but I feel like you've read at least like 15 decent rock bios.
No, I think that's probably a fair assessment. I don't remember.
It's somewhere in that ballpark, right? Like you know random things about musicians. I feel like that's just something that you've got some inside info on.
I mean, I love a good musician biography. I will say they tend to not go too deeply into the diarrhea.
That's why they don't sell more.
You know, I feel like maybe that's what was missing from Pam and Tommy on Hulu.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great miniseries. Not enough poop.
Not enough poop.
Puppetry, though.
That was funny.
A lot of puppetry.
Not enough
But when are you going to be really brave, Hulu? Real
Show
courage.
us the butthole cut of cats.
Yep, you got to go to Peacock for that.
Show us the butthole cut of Tommy Lee.
I promise you that's out there.
It's probably like if you Google BUT, it autocompletes to butthole cut Tommy Lee.
I feel like I never read the Motley Crue book, but I did watch the movie that they made based on it, and I feel like the book must contain all of that.
It should.
There were too many people referencing that movie. Were like, this movie is insane. And it just came up on Netflix when I opened it one day, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm watching this. I guess I'm watching this. They were a big part of my childhood. I'm like, all right, let's find out about these guys. Let's learn more about Vince Neil.
I understand the book is supposed to be among the more entertaining hard rock biographies.
Nice. So pick that up wherever fine literature is sold. It's right next to The Sun Also Rises. And if it's actually autographed by Vince Neil, it could be worth $1,000. Because I'm sure that man's a tough sign.
Yeah, no doubt.
It costs upwards of $17 to get Vince Neil to sign something these days.
That includes the $15 for the ticket to the show.
I thought is that his cameo rate too, or no?
I don't understand Cameo. I'm going to say that right now. Cameo, I get the concept behind it, but I look at the rates and I'm like, is this really worth it for everybody? Like, I know some people have got to be struggling, but like just $25 a pop to take the time to like record it and send it off. And I'm kind of surprised by how low some people are. And I'm like, wow, all right. And then how high some people are, I'm like, it's not worth it. It's not worth $500 for me to have that person say hello to me. I can't figure out what the going rate should be, but everyone seems too expensive or too low. But I did get a cameo from Tito Santana for a friend of ours, and it was the greatest purchase I ever made in my life. My only point was it seemed wrong for Tito to put that kind of time in for $25. Like as much as I enjoyed it, it also bummed me out a little bit.
Who have you seen charging 500 who you're like, this is inaccurate?
I'm not even saying it's inaccurate. I'm saying I wouldn't do it. Like Ric Flair was in the $500 neighborhood, where he was charging serious cash.
I think the most expensive one I saw was Richard Dreyfuss, and I think it was like $1,000.
Yeah,
which is like blows, but also kind of makes me. I was like, for $1,000, he probably will tell you like how much he hated Roy Scheider or something. Like I'm like kind of in.
Richard Dreyfuss tells you who he hated for free.
That's
right.
Probably...
If you're paying $1,000 to have Richard Dreyfuss air his grievances, you have overpaid, my friend. That is free anywhere internet is available.
That information does seem to be fairly at hand.
Mm. All right, let's blow through some categories here, and then we'll talk more about this week's episode. Joke of the week. My joke of the week, I really, for whatever reason, it delighted me. It was a joke that seemed like it could have been homophobic and didn't read that way either time they did it. When Sam was talking about getting into picture me, I'm in the bathtub, naked as a jaybird, and Woody says, "Hang on, I'm having trouble getting your second sock off." And it seemed so innocent and pure. It cracked me up both times. He was like, "This is my boss and my friend, and I'm following his orders specifically." I thought it was great. Tookie, what was your joke of the week?
Not so much a joke, more just like a same/this is a vibe. When Norm was waxing poetic about crumbled cookies and how it doesn't get in the way of chewing. I was like, this is a vibe. It stuck out to me.
There you go. On a week when Tookie needed to eat soft.
Yeah.
Just finding the things that were relatable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dave, what was your joke of the week?
I'll go for the Woody line too, when he realizes that he no longer has his wallet, and he's trying to give money to Diane so she could pay back Sam, and he reaches in his pocket and says, "Oh, I must have had my pocket picked again." And Cliff looks at him and says, "Welcome to the big city, kid." And he earnestly turns to him and says, "Thanks, Mr. Clavin."
I would like to say honorable mention for a joke that probably should have been creepy, and yet I laughed at both times, which maybe says something about me. After Sam gives Diane the money, and says, "I'm very surprised by this, especially in the nature with the history of our physical relationship." And he says, "Yeah, it kind of seems like you should be paying me, doesn't it?" And I'm sorry, it got me both times. Both times, got me.
He immediately hits you with that, like, I'm just kidding, but not really, like Ted Danson smile, and it's just like it's the hammer, man. That thing like hits every single time.
Mm-hmm. It really does hit you. He does it well. Dave, what's your '80s moment of the week?
I'm gonna go with the use of world records as a plot device. I know it's ridiculous. I think this is a trope that thankfully got abandoned after the 80s, but where a character would be searching for some sort of notoriety by doing some sort of eminently achievable world record, and using that to kind of motivate a 22 minutes of television. That's my 80s thing. I feel like we've let that go as a society.
Fair. That was a plot point quite often. My 80s moment is basically just the fact that Diane is guessing about this book, where that's the thing now that people just do when they go through used bookstores is they've got their phone and they're checking prices and it's like, what is this? What can I sell it for? What's this going for? I got to buy this book. I can sell it on Amazon immediately, which is something, especially like around 2005 to 10ish, I guess, was a very big thing where a lot of booksellers hadn't really caught on to Amazon in that way. And you had your cell phone right there and you could just go through and negotiate, be like, I'll give you $10 for this book. Great. Now I'm going to walk down the street and mail it off and sell it for $20. So yeah, just Diane guessing about what this book might be worth and not really being able to confirm it, saying it must be worth more. Tookie, your 80s moments.
World records definitely stuck out to me. Pickpocketing, though not, I mean, it's still a thing, but it was definitely a plot point. I think at one point or another, like heavily used as a plot point, getting pickpocketed, that stuck out at me. The concept of an antique book stand that you bought specifically for a book, like, because not a lot of people are collecting books these days. When Norm says plop, plop, fizz, fizz, I was like, huh.
The Alka-Seltzer commercial.
This is a ad campaign that is not current. Writing a check. I learned how to write a check as a kid, but like writing a check really leapt out at me as something that we do not do in this day and age. Mentioned of Margot Hemingway. That popped out at me.
Margot.
Yeah.
Personal best.
Yeah. And I did the conversions on the inflation calculator. $500 today compared to 1985. That's $1,335. And $1,000 in 1985 is equivalent to $2,671 today.
All right. Sam doing well, which gets us back to the eternal question of how much money does Sam Malone really have? It's a very weird thing as we watch the series as it goes on, where you kind of go, how much money does Sam have? Like even in the 80s or when he bought that in the 70s, I feel like that bar in that neighborhood would not have been cheap. And when he sold it, he should have made a lot more than just enough money to buy a sailboat, which is going to be coming up in season 6 if we get there. But yeah, it's like Sam should have more money than he does.
Yeah.
Sometimes it seems like he has a lot, and sometimes it seems like he is doing okay and scraping by. So it's an interesting thing about the world of Sam Malone. All right. Tookie, how white was this week's? Oh, sorry, Dave.
I was going to say, I wonder what his pension is too. I wonder like what his MLB pension
Baseball
is.
pension.
Should be solid. Tookie, how white was this week's episode?
We're down. We're down a little. Yeah. We had no people of color in the cold open. Unless maybe there were some. I don't know if we're gonna pull like a coach at the family reunion.
Yeah.
And add but now, so no people of color.
I mean, you got to go by what you're seeing. Yeah, and maybe.
Yeah.
You heard Alan in the bathroom, but you got to assume the 3 people that you saw were the 3 people there, and they were all white.
Yeah. First scene, there was a black man who passed by Carla and went to sit up by the piano. Scene 2, there was an Asian man to the right of Norm sitting at the bar, a black couple at the back wall, a black woman to the left of the phones when you're facing that back wall, and a black woman in the booth seats by Tecumseh. And then scene 2A, if you will, there was a black man who passed by Diane. And then scene 3, there was the black woman who went upstairs, but she came back down. I think it was one of those continuity things where an extra just wound up in different places during cuts. And then the same black man who passed by Carla in scene 2 was back sitting at the bar, kind of behind her. So in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 this week. We're down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that the Asian man had like a plum seat. Like that was a great, like I am on camera seat.
Yeah.
It was a good spot. He told his friends about this week's episode. All right. Sam Creepy Quotient. Interesting week. Interesting week.
It started, he was doing great. He was doing so well. And then, those final 2 scenes took him up to a 32. It was hard. It was real hard.
Yeah, it was awkward. And it's a weird thing about this season too, where it's like they keep having episodes where it seems like, oh, all right, they're hooking up. And then there's no resolution and there's no reference to it the following week. It's like they're like kissing, they're having a romantic moment, and then it cuts to credits when we have the joke about him squeezing her too tight. And it's like, what happened? And then the next week there's no reference to it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I remember watching episodes like this as a kid and feeling confused because like I was like, oh, people are either like married or they have like a girlfriend or they're single. And like I had never witnessed a relationship like this where 2 characters will occasionally like start to make out and then the next week they are clearly not together at all. Even
and
with
they act like
history.
The thing is, they keep having these moments, and then they act like they have not been together since the breakup.
Yeah,
that's the thing where it's like, we all know people who have broken up, and then can't quite stay broken up, and you have a relapse, and it happened, but you don't pretend that the relapse just never occurred. You're like, nothing has happened since the breakup. Well, yeah, it has.
Yeah, it felt like the end of that episode felt like what should have been like a fairly seismic moment.
Yeah. And it's weird because he still did fall in love with that book. He was really excited about reading it. It's all very strange.
And Diane, and this for me, like kind of kept his creepy quotient a little lower. Like Diane is really the instigator of the romance too. Like she like just like in her dream the week before, like she's the one saying like, I'm very attracted to you right now. I would like to pursue this further. So like I don't know, it kind of tamps down for me his creepiness a little bit, but also like again it's like how hard is it to sort of compartmentalize this week after week to go from like, oh, I'm very attracted to you when I think about you caring about Ernest Hemingway too. I can't be nothing's happening between us.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to support Tookie's rating on this.
I'll go down to like 26.
Okay. Fair.
Have either of you read The Sun Also Rises? I have not.
Oh God, years ago.
I think I was supposed to, and maybe only read half. I did appreciate that. Maybe that's more like an 80s moment, but I did appreciate the fact that the show was like basically kind of assuming that everybody had a passing familiarity with that book.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of cool.
It's funny because as a title, I knew it very well. Like I feel like that title got referenced a lot. I remember in the movie Soap Dish, they had the soap opera called The Sun Also Sets. That's a movie that has aged poorly.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Soap. Wow.
And it's filled with people I love, but did that age badly? Oh,
really?
Baby. Kevin Kline, who is one of my favorite actors of all time. Kevin Kline, Sally Field, Robert Downey Jr., Whoopi Goldberg, Terry Hatcher, like Elizabeth Shue. It's quite a cast and a funny idea. But yeah, like ends on this hugely transphobic twist. It's very uncomfortable to watch now. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where is that streaming? I'm just curious.
Yeah. I think it's probably something you could track down.
Oof.
But
Sally Field in
yeah. But this is not like Midnight Run where I'm like, all right, this is on me. I need Tookie to see this movie. If you want to see Soap Dish, that's on your dime, Tookie Kavanaugh.
Well, I was going to say, loving Sally Field in Winning Time.
She's great, isn't she?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm still very back and forth on Winning Time though.
Really?
I'm right where I was, where it's like it's so well acted, it's so
Mm-hmm.
well shot, it's so well put together. If it was a work of fiction, I would be completely on board. I like I said last week, I get so frustrated with how flexible they are with facts.
Mm.
And it keeps me from being completely invested as a viewer. Where the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, oh wow, I wonder if this actually happened. Like,
I'm,
yeah, like the whole thing. Even with like Dr. Bus and the whole maid storyline or the whole nurse storyline this week, I'm like, oh, like if this happened, that's not good. But if it didn't happen,
Mm-mm.
it's not good that you're pretending this happened.
Hmm.
Well, we just got to the introduction of Paula Abdul, so don't spoil too much.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
It's okay.
I forget
It's
that you're
okay.
not completely caught up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even then,
But
yeah, like I remember reading about that, and it's like, yay, Paula, and she was a Laker girl, but it's not like she did not become the choreographer, and she was not the one to be like, here's what we're gonna do. Like she came in later, and
mm,
it's
mm.
just all. But wouldn't it have been more fun if Paula Abdul was the woman who founded the Laker girls and made their whole style? I was like, yeah, but she didn't. And it just feels like they're very comfortable saying, this is the way we want it to be. So this is the way we're presenting it in this show. I
Well,
don't
to
know.
be fair, I'm viewing it from the standpoint of like, I know I wasn't there, but I know the outline of the lore. I know a lot of the facts, but I'm just
Hmm.
letting the story carry. I'm just
There
letting
you
the
go.
story go. Yeah.
Let the story wash over you. Which is
Yeah.
again, probably if I could get out of my own head, I would probably enjoy life 36% more.
Just let the story carry you, Mike.
I should. I should. Do we have anything else to say about this week's story on Cheers?
Yeah, I found this whole episode to be kind of. I'm frankly finding this whole season to be a little weird and kind
Mm.
of like I'm so far kind of underwhelmed.
Mm.
I know it's
Final
going to
80s.
get better. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, final 80s moment though, reading in the tub, because I feel like it's audiobooks in the bathtub at this day and age. Don't read in the
Oh,
tub.
I think people still. I think you're doing a disservice to books. I think there are
Okay.
still
Okay, fair.
there's some book stands out there. People collect them, and I think some people like to tune out and get rid of the blue light. And I'm gonna have some candles burning, and I'm gonna hold a book, and I'm gonna read it in the tub.
Fair,
Says the
fair,
guy
fair.
who has a shower.
When Sam described it, and I haven't read in a bathtub for it has to be at least 15 years. That sounded so delightful to be in a
Right?
bathtub with a book suddenly.
It doesn't sound bad.
I'm not mad at
Just
it. Just
no.
Audible is a
Just
thing.
yeah, it
I'm
is a thing.
I mean I've sat, yeah, now that I think about it, I've definitely sat in like pool chairs in pools with paperback books that I was not like overly invested in preserving the book itself. You know, if something happened to it, it was fine.
Mm.
But enjoy that experience of just reading while floating.
And Tookie, I'm surprised you don't do that more, as that hat screams, I've got a great big book at the beach.
Yeah, I know, but it was the nearest one. It was because reasons.
But that hat just screams, I've been meaning to read Jaws, and I'm going to do that when we go to Nantucket this summer.
Not not near the ocean.
You
Not
don't
near
read near the ocean?
no. Not Jaws, at least.
That was how Jaws became so famous. It was like the beach read of the early 70s. And it became this huge hit because everyone was reading at the beach that summer.
They were too busy reading instead of paying attention to fins in the water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more vigilant. No disrespect, but I look out for things.
Mad respect. Mad respect. All
You
right,
got
we're putting
that
this one in
hat
the
on a
books.
swivel.
I'll gladly pay you Tuesday. Going into the books. Do we have anything to promote this week, my friends?
Democracy Brewing this Saturday.
Very nice. Go on out, catch a show, Democracy Brewing. Dave?
I'll be going on the Freedom Trail with most of my extended family on Saturday. If anybody's in Boston
All right.
wants to yell at us, we'll be the loud group.
Oh, there's like a 30% chance Tookie and I will probably know your tour guide.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll give you an update once I find out who it is.
There you go.
Cool.
Drop our names. It might tell you something about the Freedom Trail they don't tell regular people.
Oh, nice. Some of the inside gossip. Some
There you
of the Tea Party tea.
Hmm.
All right. On that note, we're putting episode 6 in the books. Stay safe this week, everybody. COVID numbers are going up, but not hospitalizations and not deaths. So we're hopefully in a pretty good place right now where folks are going to be getting sick, but not too bad. And colds are something we can live with. So fingers crossed. I'm Mike. That's Tookie. That's Dave. We'll see you next week, everybody.